So in this section, we're going to talk about why sleep matters, kind of the benefits of sleep. But what I want you to do before we get into that is I want you to grab your notebook and pen, and I want you to write down how you feel when you get up in the morning. So kind of 15, 20 minutes after you get out of bed, how do you feel? Then 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and 7 o'clock at night. So do you kind of feel well rested when you get up in the morning and you can just get on with your day, or do you need a little bit more time and to kind of get going? At 11 o'clock, you kind of looking for something to eat? Are you feeling kind of lethargic, like you maybe should have slept a bit longer? At 2 o'clock, are you having a real slump? Could you do with a nap? Or are you actually okay at that point and full of energy? And at 7 o'clock, are you starting to feel sleepy? Or are you kind of really awake at that stage and ready to kind of, I don't know, go out or get on with some things? So just pause the video, take a couple of minutes to just jot a few things down about how you feel at those points in the day, and then come back and press play again. So there are many benefits of getting a good night's sleep, but it's one of those things that the more we try to sleep well, the harder we try to sleep well, the less likely we are to be able to do that. It's almost like nature's cruel joke. The one thing that we really need to be healthy and to function really well, we can't try to do. So if you ask someone who sleeps really well how they do it, they won't be able to tell you because they don't think about it. And that is the whole point. And so when it comes to trying to sleep better, it's one of those things that it's better to focus on other things that are going to help you sleep well than actually sleep itself. So in terms of why sleep matters, our whole bodies kind of work on a clock. So as much as we would like to think that we are spontaneous and we do things whenever we want to function really well, we almost have to get in sync with this clock. And every cell in our body works on a clock. It's our circadian rhythm. So our sleep, how we digest food, our hormones, everything works on a clock. So why sleep matters is that our sleep regulates all of those things. So from how we digest our food, how we keep hydrated, how our hormones work, and also it really affects our mood. So on a day-to-day basis, why our sleep matters is because if we don't get good sleep, we can get moody, irritable, we have low patience. And even when we may feel we've slept well, and we haven't, there's things underlying that we don't really do particularly well. And that can kind of come in the shape of patience, but also decisions. We don't make great decisions when we haven't slept well, whether that's what to eat and when to eat it, through to making huge decisions, whether to buy a house or anything that might affect our lives. So kind of not sleeping well can really have a detrimental effect on our lives, just in those day-to-day interactions with, in our relationships, at work, just through kind of our mood and irritability and patience, and decision making. We can also become pretty clumsy when we haven't slept well. And you know that can be detrimental as well. Even getting in a car and driving when we haven't slept well holds quite a lot of risk. And you know, if for some of us, if we haven't slept well or we're really struggling to sleep, we can start to hallucinate, and that's when things like that kick in, and you know, kind of real physical things start to show in our bodies when we haven't slept well, and kind of our blood pressure goes up and that kind of thing. And that's when our risk of certain diseases, I need more sleep, I'm not talking very well, our risk of certain diseases can go up. So something else that happens when we do sleep is that our spinal fluid, we now know, washes out the plaques in our brain. And that's where this connection to Alzheimer's comes in. So Alzheimer's is has a lot of other factors as to whether we are at risk of it, you know, hereditary, lifestyle, but also our sleep. So people who generally sleep less than 5 hours a night are at higher risk of getting Alzheimer's. And that is to do with the spinal fluid washing out the plaques in our brains as we sleep. So something else that happens when we sleep that is really important is around hydration. So when we sleep well, we are hydrated. And when we don't sleep well, we kind of let go of that hydration. So in order to sleep well, we need to be hydrated. And in order to stay hydrated, we need to sleep well. So it's a bit of a vicious circle. But what happens is there's an enzyme when we hit so many hours of sleep that helps us retain the water in our bodies. And if we don't hit that kind of, it's around the 6 hour mark, we can lose that hydration. So the whole thing about where people kind of stop drinking around 5 o'clock so they don't have to get up in the middle of the night because they think that's broken sleep and therefore they won't have slept well, can really affect that as well. I would personally prefer to, and I do, keep drinking straight up to the moment I go to bed, because I know that if I do get up in the night to go to the toilet, that is in the end of one of my sleep cycles. And so if I just get up, go to the toilet, come back to bed again, and go straight back to sleep again, that is not going to affect the quality of my sleep or how well I've slept. So there are, as I've talked about, a number of things that if we don't sleep well, can kind of go out of whack, from kind of irritability, being clumsy, hallucinations, and that kind of thing. And our concentration can be really affected if we haven't slept well. So one thing we haven't talked about is naps. So when we haven't slept well, but we have something big that is going on, most likely in the afternoon, that's when a nap can really help. So when I'm talking about naps, I don't mean kind of getting into bed and going to sleep for a good hour or two. That can actually be quite detrimental because you'll wake up most likely feeling groggy. It's something called inertia. What is a really good nap is to sleep for around 20 minutes. And that just really just kickstarts everything again and allows you to function really well. So if you have an exam in the afternoon or a meeting or a presentation or something just quite important, it's a really good idea if you can to get a nap around like midday, 1 o'clock for about 20 minutes. And if you really, really want to give yourself a kickstart, it takes caffeine 25 minutes to get into our bloodstream. So if you have a coffee and go and have a nap, you'll really wake up ready and raring to go. So when we think about what is detrimental and why our sleep matters, these are kind of the day-to-day things that really do make a difference. They can make a difference in our relationships. They can make a difference in our work life. They can make a difference to our health and how we function. So even when we take away all the things around increased risk of disease and that kind of thing, just on that day-to-day living, that our sleep really, really does matter. So in the next section, I'm going to talk to you about how you can create a space to be able to sleep as well as possible.